Hello, this is Oliver, K6OLI, and I will walk you through how to import the data we saved in a CSV into an ICS 309. That technique can be applied to many of the forms that are in a table format in Winlink Express. So the first thing I would recommend you do is to start your ICS 309. So we're starting a new message here. We go to select template, standard templates, we go to ICS USA forms. And there's an ICS 309. Just keep in mind the ICS 309 is not part of the FEMA catalog anymore. It's something that we use in amateur radio more so than anywhere else. All right, what you see here is that the form wants the data in date, time, station from, station to, and a subject. So that's how our format needs to be. The recommended method with the CSV we generated in a previous video, and I'll put the link in the description down in the comments box. So let's open the ICS 309 we generated. The main point here is that we need those 4 fields. This is the easy version, and I highly recommend that you use this. We'll import our CSV data again. One thing to note here is that the form is limited to 30 entries. So keep that in mind. We cannot import this entire box here. There are, what, 130 entries? Let's say we want to have the last, I don't know, 30, right? Remember how we need the date, time, the from, the to, and then the subject. So all we have to do here is to start with the first box where we want of the data we want to import, and then highlight, and we can either drag this over, or we can hold down the shift key on the keyboard and then select the last one we want. Let's go with the drag option here. There you go. And then we right mouse click. Oops. And then we copy, we minimize our form, minimize the folder, and we bring up our ICS 309 again in the browser. And now we have the option to paste data from spreadsheet. So left click on that, right click on this, and then click paste. And you can see the lines here are tab delimited. So there's the date and time with a tab, then the to, the from, and then the subject matter. And now we click on Parse Data. That's a left click. It says the data has been parsed. We click OK. And then we have it in a very, very nice, convenient fashion. Guess we could add more data to that. But the point here is it's all imported very easily. We can fill out the rest of this communications log, give it a task number, date and time prepared, operational period. Let's call it 1, task name, Winlink demo, operator name would be Oliver K6OLI, station ID would be K6OLI. And then we click on submit, click OK. Information has been submitted, and we have it here in our message window. So you can see all that information has been parsed. And of course, we can put in, let's say, just as an example here, we can post this to the outbox. And if you want to see how the recipient sees that, we can go onto the outbox. We can click on the attachment clip here once, and it pulls it up, and that's what it's going to look like for the recipient. So it's very nice, very neat, and you can print that up very easily. All right, that was method 1, and that's the recommended method. Let me show you another alternative method. We will go through generating the ICS 309 again. Go to message, generate ICS 309 log. For this, I would recommend that we limit the number of messages that we put in there. So let's do a limit start date, and time, and you'll see in a moment why. And we'll start in, let's go here to, let's say July 1st. And we can change the time, but that looks good. And let's go to 0 to 1. And let's go to 09, 16, right? So we've got about 2 months worth of, 2.5 months worth of data here. I'll limit that. If we don't check that, it'll go up until today. We can certainly do that, but in this case, let's just limit that as well. And now we go to generate CSV file. And message ID, as you remember, is not checked by default. And remember that for this to work, you will have to uncheck the message ID because we need the time, which is the date and the time, the from, the to, and the subject. But this time we're going to do a tab delimiter. So in this case, we'll put it ICS 309 demo red folder. And what I do is, as a reminder that this is text or tab delimited, it's going to add the CSV automatically, but I just like putting in .txt, so I know this is tab delimited. And then the path is the same one we used before. We go to generate CSV file, and it tells us the CSV file was written to this location. We'll click OK, click on exit, click on exit. Now, if we go to our folder, the Winlink demos folder, we actually have that ICS demo red folder 2016 txt.csv. Let me delete the old version here. So what we need to do here for the load function to work is we need to delete the CSV. So we're changing the extension of the file. Right now, it's a comma-separated values file, and the system will read it as that, but the system prefers a text file. So if your extensions don't show, you can enable that in Windows, and it's easy to Google how to do that. It'll ask you, do you want to change the file name extension? We can click yes, and now it's a text file. So we can double click on this if we want to double check it. And now we see we've got a notepad file with all the data. Keep in mind that time, from, and to, and subject are still in there, so they will be imported. I would delete those if you're going to do an actual import, but I'll just leave it in there so you can see what it looks like. All right. Next step is we're going to start a new message in Winlink. I'm going to select template again, go to standard templates. We're going to the ICS USA forms to ICS 309. And now we go to load ICS 309 data, right? And we're in that path, this PC desktop Winlink demos, that's still good. And here's the file that we changed the name of from CSV to .txt. So we double click on that. And as you can see, all our data now has been imported very neatly. Time, service, etc., etc. So it fills it in all the way until it's done. So we only went up to 828. There are messages later than this. And that's why we don't recommend this, right? It's one of these things where you don't have a lot of control. We highly recommend they use the copy and paste or copy and parse option we showed earlier. And that's it for this. We could fill this out, finish it up, and then submit the file. And that's how easy it is to import data from a CSV or a text file into a Winlink template. Thank you so much. This is K6OLI 7 3s.